The NBA got a couple big games tonight. We're going to give you some keys to victory for some of the biggest college football matchups and give you our Week 7 NFL Power Rankings. This is Crane & Company, Thursday edition, pre-recorded, but always live. As you guys know, we are literally coming back from Vegas as we speak, having a great time at Power Slap 5. Got a great show for you today. David, let's start with some keys to victory after my huge, amazing amount of money won at Blackjack last night.
Let's do it. I love it. If you won, I won. Let's start with Duke going on the road to Louisville. Duke with a tough loss against Florida State. They were in that thing until Riley Leonard was taken out of the game. Louisville, obviously, we know about the one loss that they have. They're 6-1 coming into this with the road loss at Pitt. What are the keys to victories, boys?
Well, it's easy for Duke. I mean, how healthy is Riley Leonard? Because if I know it was only 6 throws. I believe the Henry Balin kid went 1 of 6, but he's obviously not going to be able to provide you what Riley Leonard can provide you, even with a hurt ankle, lower body extremity, however you want to put it. Riley Leonard, one of his best abilities is being able to run and extend the play. But even, and I'm not trying to take a shot at the Balin kid. I don't know him personally, but I don't think this is a hot take by any stretch of the imagination. I would take a 70% Riley Leonard over 100% Henry Balin.
Sure.
I just would. You have that leadership. You have that experience, obviously, not only just playing the position in general, but going on the road in a hostile environment. We know that Louisville's chomping at the bit. If Riley Leonard can't go out there, Duke's going to be one-dimensional. And I love Jaquez Moore and Jordan Waters, and they got some guys that can really do it. They're running back, but they are not good enough and don't have enough good personnel, in my opinion, to be able to withstand not having Riley Leonard on the road against a very capable Louisville team.
Yeah, I would agree. The one thing I would worry about, if he is 70% or 65%, I almost wouldn't set him out there. You don't want to risk a guy like this to hurt it even more and be out for the rest of the season. So my keys right now, if you're Duke and you don't have Leonard, you got to play phenomenal defense. You got to turn the ball over. One that starts with winning the line of scrimmage. You have to heat up Plummer. What Plummer's going to show up today? Sometimes he's on point. Sometimes they stay on schedule. Sometimes he's make decisions. 13 touchdowns is great, but 8 interceptions. Can't turn the ball over. The big piece you look at if you're Louisville is Jamari Thrash. He's an NFL kid. That's when I think, because Duke's defense is solid. Their secondary is not bad. That's what I think will be the difference in this game. Jamari Thrash. I think Plummer will play okay. No Riley Leonard. Duke just won't have enough.
Yeah, well, you want to talk about Jack Plummer and inconsistency. Go back and watch the way he played against NC State, a game they barely won. He made about as many bad, not just bad decisions, catastrophically bad decisions at important times, yet they still found a way to win. And then he goes and basically outduels Sam Hartman at home against Notre Dame. It just shows you kind of the spectrum of where Jack Plummer is, but they are at home.
Yeah,
he does tend to play a lot better at home. Mike Elko's going to have a great plan defensively. I just don't know over 4 quarters against Thrash and some of the weapons that Louisville does have and the ability that we've seen coming off a letdown game, right, where they lost at Pitt. That's the last taste they had in their mouth. But I will say, with Riley Leonard, if you're Duke, obviously you don't want to put the guy in harm's way. But you look at the way the conference is working out right now, you and Louisville both have 1 loss. This is a humongous game, right? Duke may have 2 losses overall. That Notre Dame game wasn't a conference loss. You're still in the hunt. There are no more divisions in the ACC. So it's the top 2 teams that finish there, they're going to play each other. We were talking about, well, could Louisville go undefeated, North Carolina go undefeated, and Florida State go undefeated? Well, there's only 1 undefeated team left.
Yep.
It's Florida State, right? And if Duke beats Louisville, now there's only 1 team with another loss, and Duke plays North Carolina.
If you could sneak this win, if you're Duke and not play Riley, you got Wake at home, you go to North Carolina, Virginia, and Pitt.
You control your destiny.
Got to have in that North Carolina game.
Louisville averaging 462 yards a game on offense, almost 90 more than Duke. But here's something that stood out to me because we talk so much about that Duke defense, which is allowing 315 yards per game. Louisville only allowing 317 yards per game.
Well, that's been the biggest surprise with Braum.
They're at home, and it's -4 Louisville right now, over under 46.
Well, Louisville's defense last year, they had a really good pass rush. And that really kind of kept them defensively in games. This year, they're pretty much, outside of a few spots where you see that with every defense, they have been way more solid than anybody thought coming in this, especially with a team. And I'm not trying to knock Brom. We know Brom's an offensive guy. You just don't expect him to put a defense out there that you're like, oh my goodness, like it makes sense.
And Duke's defense is they're pretty damn good. The most points, you gave up 38 to Florida State. Other than that, you gave up, you beat Clemson 28-7. You gave up 21 to Notre Dame. That's the second most you've given up this year, and that's pretty damn solid.
Yeah, well, Mike Elko, I don't know if he's going to be at Duke much longer if Jimbo and them can't figure it out soon.
All right, Oklahoma survived the scare last weekend against Central Florida. Now they go on the road to Kansas. Oklahoma still unbeaten, 7-0, going against this Kansas team, which we know what they're capable of on offense, and they're 5-2.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Oklahoma's offense being able to move the ball. You look at Kansas. We talked with Timmy B yesterday, expecting Daniels to be back. Bean did a good job, but Jalen Daniels brings. I think from a decision-making standpoint, Jalen Daniels is a lot more solid, and obviously they both have that really good running element. I do think Daniels is more accurate as well. I'm not worried about Oklahoma, as I said, and Jeff Levy and Dylan Gabriel and these guys being able to move the ball on Kansas's defense. What I'm worried about, and I know we've talked about Oklahoma's defense is a lot better. It is much improved. But this Kansas team, especially at home offensively, with what Leopold and that crew does, with the way they call plays, with the way that they put pressure on the safeties, they manipulate the safeties and put them in conflict almost every single play. And Kansas in these games seems to find a way. We saw it against Texas where they hung around to be able to put up points. So I think Oklahoma, the key is set the physical tone early. Make sure that they understand. Kansas would not mind this game to get into a track meet. Kansas does not mind that at all. That's the tempo and the pace they want. And with the way Oklahoma goes super fast, with the way Jeff Levy wants to spit it out, similar to Tennessee, you can get caught up in that track meet. But defensively, if Oklahoma can go out there and Stutzman and those guys can set the tone early and go kick somebody's ass early and say, listen, there's one offense that's going to move the ball up and down the field this game that's going to have a lot of fun. Y'all are good. Y'all may score some points, but you're going to struggle. This is not going to be back and forth. And it's just like we hear in baseball all the time when you score runs. Hey, what you have to do, and it sounds obvious, but they work in tandem, is score runs and hold them. Score runs and hold them. That's how you create that gap. In this game on the road against Kansas, they need to create a point gap because at some point Kansas is going to hit a couple plays. So you obviously want to jump out and be up. Hey, man, we're up 35-14. All right, that's fine. Kansas hit 2 plays. Maybe they ran a pump back, something crazy. It's 35-28. We got our offense on the field. Let's stay 2 scores ahead. But you do that by setting the tone and you kill their hope early.
Yeah, if you look at Oklahoma, 1, you got to stay on schedule, and that starts with being able to run the football. 2, you can't have this game turn into we have 10 penalties and we're giving Kansas a lot of freeway and a lot of easy wins almost if you think about it, especially on third down. You got to get Kansas off the field on third down. You got to win in the red zone. All right, if you do that, I think Oklahoma's the better football team. 10.5 points. It's a tough spread. I don't know if I'm going to touch it, but having Jalen Daniels back is going to be a huge piece. But you have to win the line of scrimmage. Oklahoma, you need to get up like you're playing Texas. All right, every game you need to get up like you're playing Texas.
Well, you haven't learned that after
you had your
last
scare against UCF. Trust me, Gus always freaks out and almost gets him one. You're lucky you didn't. You can ask North Carolina what it feels like to be on the other side of that. But I think Oklahoma, this is a different Oklahoma team. I think Brett and Venables will have these guys ready, physical, ready to go on defense. I think Kansas plays well early. I think it's almost 3 to 10 point lead for Oklahoma at half, but I think the skill and the depth of Oklahoma outlasts Kansas.
I will say I wasn't overly surprised that Central Florida was able to play with Oklahoma, especially with John Rice Plumlee coming back. To me, that wasn't in the same league as a 1-5 Virginia team in North Carolina.
Well, and as far as the Kansas side, and this is obvious, sometimes when we do keys to victory, there's obvious things, but that's the key. The keys to football, it's not, hey, let's just make sure that the holder eats enough breakfast before the game. There's not always some minute key. Sometimes there is. But if you're Kansas, it's obvious. How did UCF stay in that game? Right? They hit explosive plays. Like it's going to be tough against this Oklahoma defense to put together 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 play drives with the personnel that Kansas has. And with Jalen Daniels coming back, you have to be able to hit explosive off the RPOs. You got to give them eye candy. You got to run your stalk and goes. You got to run your bluffs. You got to be able to get chunk plays. And that's where the difference between this Oklahoma defense, I think the biggest jump they made. Last year, if you got to the second level, you were gone against this Oklahoma defense. They weren't super fast, depth-wise, right? You could hit big plays on them. This year, Oklahoma's turning a lot of those, up to the UCF game, had been turning a lot of those big plays into somewhat big plays, I guess you could say. So, for example, the 65-yard touchdown pass was a 35-yard gain. Now you still got to go another 30 yards to score. UCF kind of found him a little bit. You saw him on the RPO. They didn't cover the wide receiver once Plumlee kept the ball, rolled outside. You got to find a way to do that. Jalen Daniels can do that. That involves a couple trick plays. Maybe that involves a trick play on special teams and stealing a possession here or there on fourth down. But you've got to find a way to be able to hit chunky, explosive plays against this Oklahoma.
3 40-plus yard touchdown passes last week.
Yep.
Kansas.
That's how they stayed in the game for Kansas, yeah. UCF hits some big ones too.
South Carolina, 2-5, goes on the road to Texas A&M. I mean, both of these teams kind of need a win here.
Yeah.
So, we talked about, is Spencer Rattler going to, pack it in?
I mean, if you're South Carolina, you need A&M, you need that carriage to turn into a pumpkin at midnight. You need disaster. You need A&M to feel the pressure, to understand that they're 4-3. I'm sure there's tension all up and down that locker room right now on that coaching staff. You haven't heard anything between Petrino and Fisher because you're not. There's more problems than that. You have to hope that it gets to the point where you get a little momentum early, maybe similar to the Georgia game, right? And Texas A&M folds and you can stay in it and find a way to win. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you, I just don't think that's going to happen. I mean, Texas A&M, how many? They got 29 sacks? Something crazy. Like they're top 5 in the country, I think, in sacks. Have you seen South Carolina's offensive line? Juice Wells isn't playing. Everybody's banged up. Hell, even Shane Beamer's hurt. I got a feeling this game's not going to be close. I locked in the under at 53.5. And my only worry is that will Texas A&M score 54? Because at some point, Rattler's going to have to throw for 400 yards in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So only way you're not running it. You think running it against Georgia was tough? And it is. I'm not saying it's easy. This front 7 for A&M. So if you're A&M, you just can't go in there and have to, and it'd be just a 5-alarm fire where everybody plays bad.
Is Leggett playing?
I think so.
I mean, even if he does,
it's funny you bring up the Georgia game because if you're South Carolina, at this point you have to take a page out of what he did in the first half of that Georgia game, and we're going to get in 5 wide, we're going to a lot of empties,
spit it out.
How quick we can get this ball out, get it to playmakers in space because you're not going to have a lot of time. You basically have a high school offensive line. Your average is giving up 9 sacks a game. Then Texas A&M, it's pretty easy. Run the football. South Carolina's not going to get pressure on you. Texas A&M just can't beat themselves in this football game. And we've seen Texas A&M do that.
That's true. That is true.
One thing that could come down in this game, and we always talk about it, especially you, special teams. What is Beamer going to do? Does he have any tricks?
He's got tricks.
Momentum?
I mean, you got nothing
If South Carolina's going to win this game, you have to win the momentum. You got to win it early.
You got to get lucky. Let's be honest. You got to catch a couple breaks.
It's interesting that we've talked about Texas A&M is better at stopping the run than rushing the passer this year, right? And those are two different things when you're talking about the front 7 of a defense. But South Carolina's offensive line is also a weaker part of their team. Does Texas A&M sort of have that week where it's like, not only are we good at stopping the run, but also we're going to be able to get after Spencer Rattler this week and take advantage of that O-line?
Yeah, and I think with A&M a lot, and I mean, you go back against Bama, I thought they did a pretty decent job of rushing the passer. Just in the Alabama, it was kind of a stalemate a little bit. They got to Milroe some, but the first read was there for Alabama. It was open all night. They just took advantage. It's like stealing. It's like reading a pop-up book. But when it comes to A&M, like the pass rush needs to come through in the big moments, right? And maybe the stopping the run is so elite that you expect the pass rush to be just as elite when those are two totally different styles of play. And some guys, very rare do you find guys that are unbelievable at stopping the run and rushing the passer. Obviously, you're typically better at one or the other. That's why they have packages and they package defensive linemen. But I think this is a talent thing, David. Like, I think A&M could go out there and just run very, very vanilla peanut butter and jelly. Here's what we're doing, base stuff, right? Simplify it unbelievably on the back end, which, I mean, you still got to cover people. Leggett, who knows if he's going to do this secondary, but it's one guy, and with Juice Wells being hurt, I don't think they have enough pieces. But I think they could go out there and just absolutely throw vanilla ice cream at him. And just at some point, like, you're beat at birth, man. Like, at some point, that guy is just better at this than you. He doesn't have to have all the moves. He doesn't have to be the highest IQ guy of all time. He doesn't even have to be the biggest guy. But the guys that A&M will have running at Spencer Rattler are just much better at football than the guys that are trying to protect Spencer Rattler from said pass rushers.
I get it, and I'm just having flashbacks to last year when
I know, David,
said the same thing, and then they spanked Tennessee, and then just to prove it's not a fluke, they beat Clemson. It's like, man, does Shane Beamer just have this in him every season?
They're so
don't think
beat
it's the
up.
same team.
It's not the same
It's
team.
not
but
the
they're
same.
I mean,
so beat up.
We've seen Texas A&M secondary getting taken advantage of.
We have.
In the
Yes,
Alabama
Miami.
game, I mean, gave 320 yards passing through the air. So you could, if there's ever a chance for this to happen, South Carolina has to be able to throw it quick, get it out early. And guys, let's play a game. But how many times can I throw it to Leggett?
Yeah.
All right. Because look, A&M has 30 sacks on the year. So it's going to be hike, oh God, oh God, oh God.
Screen,
Screen, motion.
Give me more screens in my YouTube TV
Stats.
multi-view on Saturdays. I got up like the architect from The Matrix. But if you want to be the architect of betting in gambling on sports, which if it's not legal in your state, write your local politician. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's a smorgasbord. I don't get to use that word a lot.
I can't.
All right, of all the sports right now. We got the World Series.
Yes.
NBA.
Can't wait.
I mean, heck, we got what? Suns Lakers tonight?
We got
Bucks?
Suns,
No, it's
Suns,
Lakers,
at,
Nuggets.
Suns at Lakers and 76ers at Bucks.
Suns at Lakers and 76ers at
God.
Bucks.
Yeah.
We've got college football. We've got NFL football on Thursday night. We've got NHL. This is just like you can walk into the sports bar and nothing bad's on.
This is
this is the time. So if you need the best sports book, if you want to reward yourself during the greatest sports time of year with the greatest sports book available, it's DraftKings. And it's a lot more fun when you're in on the action. And new customers can score $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet just $5 on NFL football. So if you want to bet Buccaneers Bills tonight, it's a win-win. Pretty easy. Sign up only with DraftKings Sportsbook and use our code BOOSTER, BOOSTER. So when you download it, use promo code BOOSTER to get that great deal with DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, David, what else we got?
I love it. Interesting one here when Houston goes on the road to Kansas State. We're talking about Houston played Texas close last week. They're 3-4 though. Go on the road to play Kansas State team that's 5-2.
I'm really high on Kansas State here because I think it's a huge letdown spot for Houston. You got up for Texas, right? Texas leaving the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
We're gone, boys. Too good for you, right? Won the scratch off. Now I'm with the Instagram model. Sorry, I love your mother, but it's time. And I feel like Kansas State, look the way they played last week. They kind of found something a little bit. It's TCU. I watched that game. They beat them to sleep. Like everything was working. I think you're seeing kind of, because Kleiman, we know what type of program he runs. We know what they want to do. They've used two quarterbacks with Will Howard being a little bit beat up. They brought in that young curly-headed kid that's just absolutely running the rock. But when I look at this Houston team, think about the emotional roller coaster. The key for Houston is can you maintain your composure? You win a crazy game at the end against West Virginia where you thought you were dead. They hit a play on 4th and 16 with 12 seconds. You throw a Hail Mary after a unsportsmanlike celebration penalty on them. You hit it, you win. Oh, my goodness. Here comes Texas. Last year in the Big 12, as I mentioned, we got to defend our turf, right? City school versus the big state school, big bad Texas. You're playing them tight. You get kind of screwed over on a little spot, if we're going to be honest, right? I mean, Timmy B, I think he agrees with us. The spot wasn't exactly great, and you lose that game close. How much juice do you have left to go on the road and play a Kansas State team that just want to smush you? Like, they don't want to sit here and look pretty and have a bunch of eye black on and have all these sleeves and have a different decal for every position group. You know what they want to do? They want to line up and run the power, David. Mm-hmm. They want to just give you the most boring stuff. They want to come home from work, all right? They want dinner to be on the stove. They want to grab a beer out of the fridge and sit down and turn the TV on. Maybe I'm watching the news. Maybe I'm watching sports. Maybe I need 30 minutes to just sit down and just absolutely do the manliest thing ever and run the ball right to your face for 4 quarters. So how much energy do you got for Houston? If you're Kansas State, I think, look, ride the momentum, baby. Ride the momentum. Still in it. You know who you are. If
Vegas
anybody
agrees.
knows who they are.
-17, Kansas State.
I love it.
Agrees.
Kansas
A lot of
State.
points.
Kansas
Oh, really?
Smush. Houston you don't want to go play this. After what you just been through, I don't want to go to a Great Gatsby party and then have to go out here and have a push-up contest against Popeye. Like, I want to do that or go to the UFC ring after the bar. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to go relax. Where's Kansas at? Why can't we just go have a 50-45 shootout with Kansas this week?
All right, so I'm just trying to recap here. You got invited to a Great Gatsby party, and then you met Popeye, and you could do a push-up contest against him? But you don't want to do that, but you have the opportunity.
No, I'm saying that's what
You
this
on
is
drugs
like.
again.
That's some story to tell your
Like,
grandkids.
I don't want to instantly go from like, oh man, like, oh look, man, we're getting massages today. Cool, we're getting massages on the beach. I can hear the waves, and then 5 minutes later, I'm having to fight the rock.
Well, it's
like
not-
I don't want to go from that to that. I'm emotionally drained.
This Kansas State team, the biggest question was their defense. We're not usually asking that about a Kansas State team, but then you beat TCU 41-3, and TCU's not a bunch of slouches on offense.
Yeah.
So I don't know, 17's enough, but I think Howard has a big day. I wouldn't be surprised.
How about West Virginia at Central Florida? And West Virginia comes into this game with a better record, 4-3 against a 3-4 Central Florida team. -7 though, Golden Knights, and 59.5 on the over.
Let me tell you a story about a game I'm not betting. These teams are so different.
Yeah.
They're so different. If you're West Virginia, I mean, it's just you can't let that negative momentum overtake. Remember, everybody's so high. I just mentioned the Houston, like they just almost beat Houston, and then last week you lose to Oklahoma State. The resurgence. Gundy's over 40. He's even manlier now. But if you're West Virginia, it stops and starts with the run game. And this UCF offense, they want to go fast. They want to be on the field. They want to wear that West Virginia defense down. And I think they're going to be able to move the ball against them. I think West Virginia's got to play a little bit of shot clock game here. It's limiting possessions. You need to be able to throw your best punch against UCF because they are going to score. West Virginia cannot win this game beating them 21-17. It's not going to work like that. I think West Virginia has to probably score 30 points to win this game. And to do that, they need to control the ball. They need to limit UCF's possessions, and the run game has to be hitting because if the run game's hitting, the play-action game is hitting. If the play-action game is hitting, Neil Brown is so good with motions, personnel groupings, and formations, and eye candy and things like that. He can put a defense in a bad spot, and West Virginia can score enough. But UCF, I mean,
their last 4 losses has been gut-wrenching. I mean, you lost to Baylor 36-35.
And you blew that one.
Yeah,
you 35-7.
Kansas State
I don't feel sorry for you.
44-31, and you just lose against Oklahoma 31-29, where you were up
on the road
for most of the game. I mean, West Virginia coming off 2 losses as well. But God, if you're UCF, how do you get up for this game? How do you get up for this game? Like even when you're at home, after just the 4 knife punches you've taken in the gut the last 4 weeks. I don't know. I like West Virginia. One, you need to control the line of scrimmage. If you can control the line of scrimmage, you can control teams like this. And UCF has proven over and over again they'll find a way to choke games.
You find out what you're made of because early in the season you get a couple losses. Obviously, it's tough. But you're able to bounce. There's a lot of season to go. You're getting to the point past the halfway point, and it's happened so much that man, that speech after the game that the coach gives, we all know the one we're talking about. It didn't hit like it hit the first time. When you lost that first game of the year. It's just at some point we keep saying these things. We need to do the little things better, or we need to change this. Like at what point do you let the thought of, man, maybe this is actually us. Maybe we don't know how to win. You can't let that thought overtake you. But human nature, I mean, it does eventually. Like maybe we're not good enough to win these games. Maybe this is who we are. And the minute you accept that, especially with that schedule, take them out of the oven.
It's been a welcome to the Big 12 year type of year for you.
For a lot of these teams.
And you got West Virginia, Cincinnati, Oak State, Texas Tech, and Houston to finish it off. You've only beat Kent, Boise State, and Villanova.
Well, let's talk about another one here real quick because BYU is 5-2. Now they go on the road to Texas this week at 6-1. Texas really can't afford another loss, Jake.
No, they can't.
Quinn Ewers banged up, hurt, going to be out.
And I know a lot of people are, and they should be. Malik Murphy is not what Quinn Ewers is. I don't think that's any sort of crazy, assertion there. But I look at this BYU team. If we really dive into it, like and you look at BYU's schedule, and look, I know Keaton Slovis, thrown for a little over 1,500 yards, has 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, actually taking care of the ball better. Because my knock on Keaton Slovis was, I don't think he wants to stand in there, and nobody wants to take the smoke, but you know how it is, David. So you got to stand in there and take it.
Sometimes it looks like Josh Allen wants to take the smoke.
Yeah,
well, he's an ogre.
Yeah, well, Josh Allen is also built like the building we walked in here.
True.
Must be nice. But if you look at BYU, right, they had that huge win at Arkansas. They lose to Kansas on the road the next week by 11. Right? They beat Cincinnati at home in a higher scoring game than what a lot of people thought. You get absolutely murdered murdered by TCU on the road, 44-11. Now that Arkansas win's not looking as great as what it did earlier. And then you beat Texas Tech, right, by 13 points. I think BYU, if this game was at home, I would really be worried if I was a Texas fan. Not that you should just be walking through the tulips if you're a Texas fan and it's all great, but BYU, the key is this is the game where if you're going to win it, you can say, oh, we caught a break, Quinn Ewers is out. You're still going to have to score a lot of points. Texas is going to be able to run the ball, and Sark is going to be able to find ways with Malik Murphy at quarterback to be able to score points, right? This is going to be some low-scoring game. You win 9-6 because your defense shut out Texas. I don't believe in your defense like that, especially after what I saw against TCU. But Keaton Slovis is your dude. That's your guy. You always got those big white trees running around on the outside that BYU always has. They got another one this year. But Keaton Slovis is going to have to absolutely be the guy that NFL scouts go, okay, that's why. That's why this guy in this loaded class of quarterbacks, that's why Keaton Slovis is a guy that I want to have. Because I tell you what, Keaton's arm strength, he may have the most underrated arm in the country. We talk about all these guys with big arms, Joe Milton. You need to have a big arm in this game and a big pair of some other things. Because in order for BYU to win this, Keaton Slovis is the key. This is your guy. This is Golden Arm. This is Prince Eric. Like, you got to go be Prince Eric, dog.
This was the other 17.5 line
This
you
seems
and I talked
too
about.
much to me. This seems to like
Without Quinn?
Without Quinn, I mean, if you're BYU, what's your game plan immediately on defense? Oh, we're stacking the box. Malik, you're going to have to beat us. You're going to have to beat us with your arm. That if you're BYU, that's your immediate game plan on defense. And I have to agree, Slovis, if there's ever a time to separate yourself or put your name into the sky like the bat signal, it's this game. And it has to feel good walking into it when half your team's over 30. All right, these guys aren't going to be starstruck. All right, they're going to know. I think this game's going to be close.
They got a mortgage and an electric.
This game's going to be close. But if it's me, I mean, what has Malik Murphy been able to prove to you through the air?
Well, it's
nothing.
Again, though, I don't think if you look, BYU is averaging giving up around 150 yards rushing a game. Okay, Texas is averaging about 180. And they know with Malik Murphy, who's a runner at quarterback right now, that's all we know. The question is, if you're going to stack the box and play man behind it, can Xavier Worthy or an A.D. Mitchell, can you just put it close enough where they can go make the play? Because they're good enough. You put it up, they can go make the play.
Sure.
But I'm telling you, I don't care if BYU loads the box, explodes the box, implodes the box, or puts socks in the box. Texas is going to be able to run the ball against BYU. The question is, can BYU somehow find a way to get Texas into third in passing? Can they somehow find a way to say, you know what, you're in a predictable down, it's 3rd and 8, I don't think Sark's going to line up and run an inside zone or power. Hell, knowing him, he might. Who knows the which of Waverly plays. But get into a predictable down where we don't have to load the box, we can play coverage and make Malik Murphy play a game of peekaboo and make a couple mistakes to keep us in it.
Yeah.
I just know this Texas defense, right? The whole week is being told, you don't have Quinn Ewers. You don't have Quinn Ewers. Gonna have to win this one on defense. Gonna have to win this one on defense. Do not be shocked. As much as Slovis needs the ball, if Texas comes out and absolutely lays the wood to BYU on offense. Grown men are not, because Texas, say what you want, I know Oklahoma played games with them, but Texas got some grown-ass men running around that field.
All right, let's get to at least 2 more here that we haven't talked about this week. Clemson goes on the road to NC State. Both of those teams have the same record, 4-3. Line is -10 Clemson as we sit here now, and 44 on the over-under.
I've gone back and forth on this one because is it weird to anybody else that Brennan Armstrong lost his job and nobody really even talked about it?
It really is weird.
Him and Devin Leary are just Spider-Man, Jeff.
Well, it's just everybody acted
weird.
Everybody acted like, oh, like Brennan Armstrong, that was a huge deal.
He was
going
a
back
really
with
good
Robert
quarterback.
And right? Going back with Robert and I just, I know they're coming off a bye week, right? I like MJ Morris. I think he's going to continue to grow. But if you're Clemson, and I know the Cade Klubnik played look bad, you've gotten off the mat a couple times this year. Will you be able to get off the mat again? Because it's kind of like they'll figure it out. Like Clemson, you lose a couple games early. We all remember the Duke game, what happened in the red zone. But there seems to be so much negativity at Clemson right now. Like, can you get out of that negative cloud bubble? Cade Klubnik keeps the ball when he wasn't supposed to keep the ball last week. You lose the game. Miami beats you with their backup quarterback. All this stuff about Dabo coming out. You know, one of the biggest strengths that we talked about with Clemson, with the Dabo Swinney emergence, was how strong the culture was, right? Like how together. People don't transfer from Clemson. Nobody ever leaves Clemson. There's a lot of negativity swirling around right now. So I wonder, you know, has that locker room reached their breaking point? NC State sees an opportunity. Maybe you got a new life with you know, the way it's gone with the new quarterback. I find it weird, you know, going back and looking at that Florida State game, or not the Florida State game, but the last game that NC State played. I just find it weird that nobody really talked about the MJ Morris or the Brennan Armstrong
thing. A little bit weird. I still like Clemson in this game to bounce back, but I will say this about NC State. Those 3 losses they have are to Duke on the road, against Louisville, 13-10 by 3 points there. You and I watched that game together, Jake. And then Notre Dame the second week of the season when Notre Dame was ranked 10. And Notre Dame's going to be at home for this one. Or, I'm sorry, NC State's going to be at home for this one.
Yeah, they really haven't beat anybody either.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you beat Virginia, VMI, UConn, and Marshall. So, I mean, what have you really... I like Clemson's 4-3 and 2-3 in conference.
Do you like the under in this game? Does anybody else really like the under?
44.
It's at 44. I mean, MJ Morris, again,
Yeah.
I mean, you look at his stat line, it's hard because he did throw the ball 40 times, right? He threw the interception, but he's also their leading rusher by 10 carries last game. So if that's what you're relying on, if you're relying on MJ Morris to be an effective runner at quarterback, I guess you do have Brennan Armstrong as a backup you can always put in. How much can NC State score against Clemson?
I mean, you're scoring 3 versus Duke, so I mean, you're not going to put up a lot of points against Clemson.
Even
at the end of the day, this Clemson's defense is still a pretty damn good defense.
Yeah.
Their offense is just not even close to what Clemson's offense we're used to seeing. And we might have just got spoiled with Clemson. You think of the guys that they've rolled in at quarterback: Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, those were generations.
Well, I'm not ready to quit on Cade Klubnik, but like, is this who Clemson is now? Like, at some point, is the good old days in the past? I mean, DJU didn't work out. Still trying to figure out on Klubnik. But even with DJU, even with Klubnik, the skill position players have not been up to the level that we saw. Did Clemson just get really hot over a short period of time? Like, was this a blip, or is this?
Look, Dabo will forever have done more with the Clemson program than anyone else had done, and probably more than we thought was possible there. 2 national championships in an era where Alabama was winning all of them and Kirby Smart was coming on at Georgia. 2 natties, and even the last couple years, 10-win season a year ago?
Yeah, and I'm talking about championship. That's the standard that he raised.
Yeah.
There's a key word.
The drop-off in talent.
Yeah, on the outside, not up front. I think offensive line-wise, they're fine. They've been about where they were outside of that 1 year with Deshaun. But, I mean, there's a key word you use there, have. You didn't say is doing or has, been doing this year. Have. That's what I'm saying. Like, celebrate the greatness that had happened. But at what point do you start worrying, hey, we have obviously elevated our program, but did we hit our ceiling a couple years ago and we're kind of like confetti coming back down and settling a little bit? I don't know.
Just a weird amount of drop off because I mean, you got NC State this week. Then you got Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you got Georgia Tech. Good about that.
You don't feel as good about that as you felt the last couple years.
You got North Carolina. All right, then you got to go to the road in South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
You might only win 6 games. Or you might win 6 or 7 games. You go 7-5.
And that would be a stark difference.
Could you imagine one of us sitting up here before the season started? You know what? I think Clemson goes 7-5.
In the ACC.
In the ACC.
Mm-hmm. And that's different than going 10-2 and everyone saying, "Oh, Dabo Swinney's done."
Yeah.
Right? Like there's a difference between 6-6 and 10-2.
Without a doubt. But, they were at that next level, then fell down. But guys, if you're out there listening, it's time to take your fall style to the next level. Do you want to get where Clemson was? You want to sip it from the cup? Because dressing for success, it can only help you look better and be more confident. So whether you're attending an important meeting, networking event, simply want to impress your colleagues, or I don't know, maybe that girl from work, you're trying to like Meghan Markle in the suit situation. Our friends at Indochino, they have everything you need. And it's not just the dress-up clothes. If you stuff to wear to the tailgate, camp shirts, blazers, dress shirts, business casual. Indochino offers a wide variety of options for every occasion. The ordering process, we've all ordered stuff from there multiple times. It's unbelievably easy. They customize it, David, to your own metrics, which a man that's 6'8".
Look, I need clothes that fit. I'm not going to apologize for it. I got a full suit from them and a dress shirt.
Yeah, it's great stuff. They have, whatever color you want it in, they've got it a range of styles with trench coats, wool, and cashmere overcoats. So add fresh layers to your fall style with Indochino. Go to Indochino.com. That's INDOCHINO. And use our code BOOSTER, BOOSTER, to get 10% off any purchase of $399 or more. That's INDOCHINO.com. Promo code BOOSTER. Upgrade your wardrobe, get that 10% off, make an investment in yourself and the way that you're perceived around you. Indochino.com.
Love it. Also, I want to just say something before we leave Keys to Victory. Georgia Southern, Georgia State, tonight, Southern, not State, the real GSU. That's all I'll say.
Talk your ish, Cone.
God, I'm feeling great about the Panthers tonight. I love the kid they got at quarterback.
I was a little surprised about
the one who's from like Conway, South Carolina.
I was surprised by the line. Georgia Southern favored.
I know, by 1.5.
I was surprised.
Is that just home team rivalry game? Close enough home team rivalry game? Clay Helton?
Believe, Dave.
Look, man, Davis Brin, just don't stop putting the ball in harm's way.
Okay.
Let's don't throw 5 interceptions.
Well, as long as Wisconsin's secondary's not out there.
He does it against everyone.
I watched 5 plays of that game. Every play I watched, I was like, God, Georgia Southern's got the ball again. Like, this is a tight game. He'd be like, here.
Take it.
Jim Leonard's little brother, Tim Leonard.
It's yours.
Yeah, have it.
Look, I'm riding with the Eagles no matter what. Don't care.
That's right.
Real GSU.
Love to see it.
Gotta believe, man.
Yeah,
gotta believe. Gotta believe. It's gonna happen. At home. Come on.
All right. You want to throw it to our Huddle Up segment that everybody loves?
Huddle Up.
Everybody's raving about it. And guess what? There may be a little bit of extra spice and flavor at the end of this one. So let's huddle up.
All right, huddle up. Let's break down Alabama's touchdown on the second play of the second half against Tennessee. This is 12 personnel, gun, Liz Sting Strong, ZN, Purple 24 Yak, Z Vapor. Let's break it down. We're in the shotgun here with 1 running back and 2 tight ends. So this is 12 personnel. Liz Sting tells both those tight ends to set the strength to the left into the boundary, and our 2 wide receivers are going to go opposite the call. ZN, this is our motion to get Jermaine Burton stacked behind our X to give the best leverage possible for that over route that we're going to break down. Purple 24 Yak, this is our pass protection. It's a play action to our 2 back through the 4 hole, and we're tagging Yak here so that our tight end engages the defensive end before he gets in the route. Also, our halfback is on a check release in case we get pressure from the field. But let's talk about this route concept here, which I'm calling Vapor, because Vapor has a V, O, and a P in it for vertical, over, and post. So who has what? The U, which is our second tight end, off the ball here, is on a vertical route to the boundary, and he's mandatory outside release. He has to get outside so the corner cannot see the over route coming from the field. The Y here is going to engage with the defensive end, then he's going to get to the flat. The Z is on the 12 to 15-yard over from motion, and the X is on a 12-yard post. Now, this play is designed to go to Jermaine Burton on the over route. Watch Jalen Milroe here. He gets his eyes to the vertical and he resets to hit this over, but Tennessee has it well defended. The corner carries Burton all the way from the field, and we have 2 high safeties. So this is 2-man, which we also call jump coverage. But Jalen Milroe does not panic. He pushes the pocket, he resets again, and hits his 3rd read, this post route down the field to Isaiah Bond for a 46-yard touchdown, and this post should not be open. First of all, Bond absolutely beats this star defender in Tennessee's nickel personnel here. And then the free safety, which has help over the top, is influenced by the over route and then takes a bad angle and can't recover. Those 2 mistakes, combined with Jalen Milroe staying poised in the pocket, going through his progressions and remaining comfortable, equals a big play for Alabama and a huge win in Bryant-Denny Stadium. This is Gun, Liz Sting Strong, ZN, Purple 24 Yak, Z Vapor.
All right, huddle up. As a defensive guy, I want to puke after watching this. Obviously, David did a great job of breaking down offensively what you're trying to get, who you're trying to put into conflict. Basically, what we have here is we have a 2-man call. All right, 2-man is a coverage where Each safety is responsible for the half deep. Now, you're going to shade a guy. In this case, obviously, they know which side Jermaine Burton is on and who they want to shade. But it's an interesting formation that you're going up against. It's 12 personnel. You have 2 tight ends or a Y and an H, however you want to term it, into the boundary. And you have a twin set, really a dice set, meaning number 2 is on the ball, the inside receiver is on the ball, and 1 is off. So it is 2x2, but it's out of heavier personnel. That's why you see that boundary safety, that boundary corner, right, and that linebacker playing a little bit lower because you're not worried about getting ran by a tight end as much as you are as a wide receiver that's flexed out wide. So Bama motions Jermaine Burton here. You can tell that Tennessee told that specific corner, I don't care if Jermaine Burton goes up to go to the bathroom, you hand him the toilet paper and wash his hands. There is no switching. There is no man match. There is no, hey, he goes inside, we'll play it inside out. You are following him wherever he goes. Now, where the screw up here, it's twofold. One, the safety at the snap gets no depth, even though he's responsible for the half. He opens up and gets lateral, which makes him too low at the end, but we'll get to that. The most egregious error is by the corner, who even in 2-man, this isn't man-free, where you've got one safety in the sky and you're trying to funnel everything else inside. 2-man, you are playing inside leverage of that receiver if you're the corner. You have to stay inside leverage because you can't get beat inside on the post, right? Especially if you're going to shade the inside guy as the safety with help. The corner, he gets caught outside leverage. He gets caught on his heels. The safety is too low, and you've got to be able to read that Jermaine Burton is not running a basic or a dig. This is not something you're going to be able to drive on. He is working the over from the jump. You can tell the difference even if you go back and look at the ping concept that David Cohn drew up earlier that Texas beat Bama on. That is a basic where the safety tried to drive it. That corner got beat leverage-wise because he wasn't inside leverage, just like this one got beat. But the safety should know Burton is running the over. I've got to spin on that, get to my half, because now he's going in the other guy's half, and I've got to be able to help the corner deep. The corner gets beat inside leverage. He almost falls down. He gets caught on his heels, which puts you into Meals on Wheels, and that's how Alabama scores a touchdown to get him right back in the game in the first drive. All right, David, great stuff, man. That was fun.
Like that one?
That was fun. I like coming in on the defensive side.
Yeah.
You know, huddle up. I'm sick to my stomach. Why do we spend all this time practicing? Why am I away from my kids?
If you're gonna get beat, like that on the post route, can I at least get the safety to help over the top?
Well, like the thing is, like, look, if we're running 2-man, all right, I know I'm not on Jermaine Burton. I know I'm not on the guy where like, all right, if we're gonna shade anybody, bracket anybody, that's the guy, okay? Especially when he ends up inside. And I know the technique was awful by the corner. It was awful. But you do got that little thing in the back of your head that's like, this safety is responsible for this half. So this half of the field, maybe I can think about getting a little bit aggressive. I know I've got help, but you can't lose leverage. You can't get caught on your heels. And I guess assuming, even when you're assuming he's going to be able to recognize what an over is, and it's not a basic or a dig, and be able to work back to his half to where, I don't know, the ball's going, it's, you know, you can't assume.
Who thinks a motion to a stack's just that underrated, baby? Sometimes
That's just a bust.
Sometimes it's all it takes is just a little motion to the stack. They don't talk, and next thing you know,
2-man on
there's
first
nothing
down.
like as a receiver knowing you're running your route, knowing the guys are messing up, and you're about to be wide open. It's a feeling you can't.
You want to know how it's funny because people are like, hey, look at Michigan. They know the play that's coming. You want to know how I know somebody that knows what type of play is coming? When you're running 2-man on first down. You're like, it's a pass.
Still didn't stop it.
There's not a lot of people running 2-man on first down the first drive of the second half. Like, yep, they're going to throw it.
Oh, God.
Like, they're going to throw it. Where's their Navy SEAL?
Oh, I'd kick you in motion.
Yeah, I would love you to kick me in
Come
motion.
on, run that over.
I'd look right at you until right when you kick me in motion. I look right at you until
Throw
you
it
snap
to me.
I think people want to hear our power rankings for the NFL. That's what I
this
think they
weekend.
want.
All right. Now, obviously, we can't use the Booster Club today because we are not live. And also, the NFL is just super drunk.
Not my
Just
fault.
super drunk.
The question is, who's going first now? Because it's not a 49ers guaranteed number one anymore.
I'll go first. And you know what? I don't know why I left.
Huh.
Week 1 didn't have Travis Kelce. It's the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs. You know, we do this funny thing where in college, you know, some people are like, oh, well, you know, you're the champion until it's not, or, you know, every year is different, or we should treat this team as number one until they're not number one anymore. Yet we didn't do that with the Chiefs. Like, we watched the Chiefs win it last year with probably the worst roster they'll ever have. And this year, Travis Kelce, obviously put up huge numbers last game. You feel better about what they have on the outside, even with Tyreek doing what he's doing down at the Dolphins. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. Left to their own devices, we know what they do.
You're not wrong, obviously.
You'll take
Number two, I got to go Eagles.
Yeah.
I got to go Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Right now?
A bounce back game. I mean, it's just, they're so good up front on both sides of the ball that, the 3rd and 1's a guarantee. First of all, and I'm a fan of the tush push.
Stop calling it that.
QB
That's
sneak.
what it is.
It's a QB sneak.
No, just don't call it
That's
that.
what it is as well.
I don't call it that.
I mean, it's a little nickname. It's not bad. I don't mind it. But
what's
what's
next?
as a coordinator?
The ass pass?
Like, how good as is a coordinator?
Hey.
Oh, hold on. It's a boot. No, it's an ass pass.
Mark Sanchez already did
Stop
that.
being weird about the game.
The tush push is weird.
I mean,
I
what's
like
next?
Necessary.
What's next? Guys, it's not the waggle anymore. See how he sticks
It's the
it out?
wiggle.
God, you always
Yeah.
got to make it gay. I don't get it.
It's the ass pass.
But I-
It's the tush push. Taylor
Oh,
Swift's ruining the game.
I agree
blame
with
her.
those first two. I'm going to have to stay with the 49ers, though, at 3.
Yeah.
Back-to-back losses, but both of them are on the road. Cleveland, we can at least say great defense. My question is, have people started to dial in on Brock Purdy, or is this more of a situation where you don't have Deebo Samuel, Christian
get healthy.
McCaffrey was banged up a couple
get
weeks
healthy.
ago? I'm going to stay with the 49ers at 3, but hey, we're kind of looking around and seeing, what's going to happen in the NFC.
All right, at 4, after the way they played, and I get there's always those 1 or 2 games where you just play as good as you possibly can. Man, the Ravens look good.
I knew you were going to say the Ravens.
Like, it was either Ravens, maybe you could throw the Jags in
No,
there.
it's the right pick.
It's like, but after watching Lamar, if I get prime Lamar
I think it's the right
like that, like extending the play Lamar, not making mistakes, he was so rusty week 1. But now, look, if Bateman and those guys are going to make plays like that, and I get young Mark Andrews, I don't know who Benjamin buttoned Mark Andrews last week. I know
Got
it's National
healthy.
Tight Ends Day. I get it. But look, the Ravens, and defensively too, man, you talk about guys running around. Roquan Smith running around is borderline horrifying.
Don't forget about the Dolphins.
I'm not. But also, saw Terrell Ruggs got inducted in the Ring of Honor of the Ravens. You talk about a menace on the football field. You remember Terrell Suggs?
Oh, yeah. I remember
grown
Terrell
man.
Suggs.
that whole defense was
Oh.
Ray Lewis and
Oh.
Ed Reed. They
Oh.
basically were killing people
Yeah.
on the football field.
It was a hit squad.
what football should be. Not now, but I'm going Dolphins. You lose to the Eagles. You don't have Xavier Howard, Jalen Ramsey. 2 of your guys up front on the D-line aren't playing. And Jalen Waddle got hurt in the first half. I still think a fully healthy Dolphins team might be the best team in the NFL. You have 2 lockdown corners, all right? You get beaten up in the run the entire year. What does that help you do? You can pull a safety down and pull them in the box to help out. A fully healthy Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. You get A-Chain back. Guys, that football team can turn into a problem extremely quickly. So give me the Dolphins. I still think, God, man, if you're going to put money on a future, I don't think the Dolphins would be a bad bet.
For the Super Bowl?
Absolutely.
Interesting. All right. I'm going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars then. Your team.
Yes,
Another team in
Corey.
Florida. 4 straight wins since those back-to-back losses. Those wins are over the Falcons, the Bills, the Colts, and then the Saints. So they're going to go to the Steelers this week. Steelers kind of picking it up, figuring it out. Then they'll get the 49ers at home. So the next 2 weeks, I think we're going to find out more about the Jaguars.
Mm-hmm. I like that. At 7, that's what I have. I'm going to go the Detroit Lions. I know they look bad against the Ravens. The Ravens played unbelievably, jumped them from the start. But one game, I'm not getting off the Lions train. They're 5-2. They're still leading the division. Minnesota did get that huge win, right? We saw the Packers against the Broncos. We saw the Bears with Tyler Badgett out there just beating adversity to death with a stick. But I love the gumball smugglers still. I know defensively. Look, if you watch that game, I watched that Ravens game. It was all working for the Ravens. And sometimes, it just, to quote the kids nowadays, it just be like that.
It'd be
Long
like that.
season. But I trust the Lions. I trust the culture that Dan Campbell has there. I'm going to put Detroit at 7.
I'm going to go Cowboys at 7.
At 8.
At 8, excuse me. Good win. A lot of questions, but pretty damn big win. And you have so much talent. Obviously, you missed Trevon Diggs. You're a playmaker on defense. But at the end of the day, it comes down to one thing, and one thing we talk about all the time on this show. Will Dak Prescott blow it at some point?
Yes.
You have to say yes. But Micah Parsons, Lawrence, you got two of the best backs, Pollard. Like, you got so much and you do so little with it. Sooner or later, it's either Dak or Mike McCarthy or maybe both.
So you're going Cowboys at 8, huh?
Yeah. Tough.
I really don't know. I mean, part of me wants to put Seattle here. Part of me, look, I'm going to put the Buffalo Bills at 9. I'm going to put the Buffalo, but I'm going to channel my inner Vince Vaughn from Wedding Crashers. I'm going to make you a balloon, but I don't want to make you a balloon. You know, I don't want to put you here at 9, but I still will. But at the Patriots was a bad loss, man.
They blew my survivor pool. Don't do
know.
it. That's like walking into Hogwarts and screaming Voldemort. Just don't say it around. Like a word for Dumb and Dumber. It's like la 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 la. I don't want to hear it. I hope y'all never win another game. I hope the Buffalo Bills
tough.
never.
And they
win
came
another
back
game.
to give you hope.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
What makes
See,
it worse.
now, see, you're.
That's what makes it the worst.
Yeah, well,
You're like,
thanks for
here,
pointing that out.
Right here.
You know,
Yeah,
here,
just celebrate it. Destroy it.
There's an element of it's a divisional game against Bill Belichick. He's got a book this thick on everything that Josh Allen is good at and bad at. Like, can they just move forward now past this?
There's that element, and then the element of you have severely pissed me off in a way that I will never forgive you for.
Or maybe you're just not great. Like, are the Bills just not great?
I want to be unbiased. I try to be unbiased.
Yeah,
right?
it's tough right
do
now.
a really good job of that here. But what does Prime say? You know, cut the bull junk. It's personal.
How many teams can Myles Garrett beat by himself? That's the question.
With the Browns?
He beat the Colts by himself.
Yeah.
Like,
Career
two
day.
strip sack fumbles, blocked a field goal, had like 4
He was
sacks.
like, you know what he treated that game like? Like that humongous 12-year-old that we all grew up with that was probably David.
Yeah.
Like that was just twice the size of your dad.
He's 1 pound under
Like,
the running back weight
Yeah,
limit.
and like he just destroys. Like you can really see it. Like in baseball, he'll hit some balls. Sometimes you're like, Jesus, you know, God Almighty, how did a 12-year-old hit that far? But you can't really tell. But you know, in basketball and then in football, you can really tell. Like when he's, you know, averaging 48 points a game, like 40 rebounds. He's like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And then
it turns that you're playing. It turns into the game of running away.
We all know that kid.
Yeah, in football, it turns into.
It was Andy Reid from the pump, pass, and kick. Go look
Lost
at
a
him.
lot of weight in the summer, so he didn't have the black tape on his helmet.
I played against Reuben Foster in middle school. It was a whole game of running away. Like you would get the ball and just run as quick as you can.
It's just like, no, it's like, look, at some point, like, you're too big. It's like how they don't let everybody get into like one of those fighter jets. They're like, look, man, like, I'm not trying to be, you know, a
like,
prick
Cone, you
about
can't
it,
get in
but-
the jet.
I talked to the people in Huntsville at the Space and Rocket
No, you
Center.
didn't.
Yes, I did.
No,
I asked them,
you
I said, my
didn't.
entire life I've been told that I'm too tall to be an astronaut. They said, no, that's false. We make the capsules bigger now. They said, you're just too dumb to be one.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Oh man,
That's a good one.
Oh, Thursday night football. Bucks.
Do we do
at
number
the
10?
Bills. Oh, you got to pick
Do
10.
we leave it in the comments to the chat?
Yeah,
we
we'll
can't
leave
do-
it to the chat.
Okay, the
We'll
chat.
leave it to the chat. I like that.
Honor system.
Man, this is
Y'all
fun.
pick the
This is
10th
like
one.
this is like the butterfly effect kind of.
Bucks 3-3. Bucks 3-3 at the Bills. We just talked about them 4-3 Thursday night football.
How cool was that Bucks Atlanta?
God, I love when we talk about the Bills twice.
Young Wei Koo.
Dude,
I love when we
It's
talk about
so money.
how about Desmond Ritter? Just think he scored from the 4.
Oh, bro.
If I was on the sideline.
Oh, that's bad.
If I was on the sideline.
Like we work too hard for you to just think you're just gonna lollygag in the end zone, and he fumbled it. That was horrible.
Bijan woke up with a tummy ache.
Yeah, like, do you see Bijan?
I'd be the same way. I'd be like, hey,
It was
you
like-
feel better.
It's like,
feel
man,
better.
dog, like I told y'all, I can't drink anything other than skim milk. Who gave me this 2%? Now my
man.
tummy hurts.
God.
So you like the
Bakers.
Bills?
Jake, you can't pick the Bills in a game for the rest of the season.
Look, like I said, there's what I think's gonna happen, and there's what I hope happens. Like those two things both are.
So
two
you want
different
Buffalo to lose every game rest of the year?
things. David? It would fill me with
Yeah.
hurt.
Would it?
The only
It was
way
hurt.
that you can make up for
This
this
is real hurt.
For you hurt as bad as I do.
Okay.
For you hurt as I was down there's like 100 people left. I'm talking about been through the ringer, didn't pick all the top teams early, still had a lot out, not a great slate. Thought about, you know, hey, man, maybe, you know, should I pick the Niners? Would have lost that one. But I picked the Chiefs the week before, but I'm like, the Bills coming off a loss.
It was the right pick.
Josh Allen. Obviously, it wasn't.
It was the right pick.
It wasn't.
How many people
So
are
what's
left
probably
now?
going to happen? Here's what's probably going to happen, David. The Bills are going to look like the Ravens looked last week.
Yeah.
That's probably what's going to happen. They'll score 55 points. Josh Allen will run in 3 touchdowns, throw for another 3. Stephon Diggs will catch one while doing a cartwheel and curing cancer. But what I want to happen is I want loss.
Oklahoma Baker.
I want the Buccaneers to score a safety and win. I don't want it to be, actually, you know what? I want the Bills to blow it. I want the Bills to get a huge lead and blow it. And then just that happens every time for a whole rest of the season. So what are they? You got 17 games? You're looking at they're 4-3.
Yeah.
7, you got 10 more. I want 10 more disasters. I'm talking about.
Wow, that's from here.
I love the Bills, and I love them big in this game. Big, huge.
Stop looking at me.
Josh Allen comes out, looks like the top 5 quarterback he is in the NFL. Bucks on offenses can't keep up. But Baker, I would love to see a game of how many times can we throw it to Chris Godwin for 7 yards. I'm a huge fan of that.
Okay.
Yeah, huge fan. Bills, huge.
Mac Jones.
He balled.
He
balled.
Jones. You let Mac Jones and Hunter Henry beat you. You know what that sounds like? This sounds like somebody reading a history book that happened in like the 1540s. That's when the castle was taken over by Hunter Henry IV and McCorkle Jones. You let a guy named McCorkle beat you. And guess what? I'm rooting on the Buffalo Soldier this week at Power Slap. I hope he handled business last night. That'll be the first person this week in Buffalo that handled business. That's right, I said it. Hey, at least my team ain't blowing the Super Bowl, 3 years in a row?
Oh,
Dang.
No. Oh, no.
That's tough.
4, wasn't it?
4?
Tough.
4 years? Woo! Man, could never be me. Anyways, what's next?
All that's left is some updates on the Michigan saga.
Yeah, good. Let's get off this Bills thing. Go, David.
Yeah.
Your turn.
All right. So as we sit here with this pre-recorded, obviously some information could change, but it probably won't, because that brings me to my first thing. I've been on the phone here talking to some of the insiders. First of all, there's been no notice from the NCAA to Michigan of any wrongdoing in terms of this investigation, which, I find interesting. And one piece of information I heard today, actually, there's been no notice from the NCAA to Michigan, not in an official capacity, about the Burgergate incident. Like, they gave them a draft of something, but even that, Michigan self-imposed those penalties.
Wait, a draft of something?
A draft.
They just gave a rough draft?
Why did Michigan do that? Why did y'all do that?
For the self-imposed?
Yeah.
So what I was told today is Michigan self-imposed the 3-game suspension this year because they wanted to prevent any suspension for next year, because it sounds like with the conference expansion and with the home and home they already have scheduled against Texas, that the Big Ten is going to do a big unveiling for week 0 and make a push to be like the primetime conference in week 0 next year. Wanted to go ahead and get this out of the way. Whether or not there was actually some fire with the smoke, and who knows about the Michigan Athletic Department under Ward Manuel, that stuff I can't speak to. But as far as this situation goes, as we sit here recording this now, there's been no notice from the NCAA, like we've been saying, that Michigan has done anything wrong in this allegation of sign stealing, or we can't even say sign stealing because that's not even against the NCAA rules.
So they just told
rules.
the writers.
The writers, they just leaked it to the media.
Leaked it.
Now, if they did give Michigan notice today of wrongdoing, Michigan would have 90 days to respond, which is already after this season. Okay, so that's the first thing. Second of all, it sounds like the person in question that we talked about, Connor Stallions, either he was a Michigan fan and wanted to try and be a part of the program, former military, was like trying to find his way into the program and was going above and beyond with these like covert ops when it comes to scouting opponents, okay? Found his way, was pretty good at it from what I hear, and got officially hired in 2022, and you can see him on the sidelines in footage. So it's either that he found a loophole in the NCAA rules and exploited it in terms of sending people to the games or getting video footage or just dissecting signals and stuff like that and working with the coordinators, or that he thought he found a loophole but actually violated concrete language, in which case the NCAA will still hold Jim Harbaugh accountable. Like, you can't just say, oh, I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
So here's what could happen. Either will the NCAA issue a clarification on the rules? Because if the NCAA comes out and says, man, this was a gray area and Jim Harbaugh's staff got around it on a loophole and we have to issue a clarification, to me, that's a win for Michigan.
Why leak it if you think you're going to lose?
Because it's a personal vendenda.
Why not just come out and punish them if you have it?
Yes,
this is a high school. I'm gonna start something and tell everybody about it in secret. So it's a big deal, even though I have nothing concrete yet that I can move on. I almost think it'll be like one of those things where, there's laws that they put in, they didn't ever realize they'd have to put in. Be like, I didn't know we have to have a law for that until something happens, and then you have to make a law for it. Is that your clarification of the rule and that what happens? But I was talking, and a buddy of mine who went on the radio and was talking about this, who's kind of been caught up in not something like this, but the sign stealing thing before. He had coached at a place and was at another place and was shown in the press box with binoculars on, whatever. But he made a great point we were talking about. He's like, a lot of the sign stealing stuff, he's like, number one, the mics in the helmets would never work. And he's right, because nobody huddles in college anymore. In the NFL, they huddle. You can have the mic in the helmet and do that. But if you put a mic in their helmet now, you're still going to have to signal if you don't huddle. Like, that doesn't accomplish anything. I agree with him on that. But then we were talking about RPOs. And it makes a lot of sense, right? You can know a play call, and people steal other people's signs. They've had it. This is something that's gone on for a long time. Sending somebody to a future opponent to video the signals, we can have that discussion, whatever. But like the RPO where you're having to make a decision mid-play, you don't have 15 guys on defense. You can't say, all right, well, we know he's going to decide this on this play call. This isn't like some concept that's built in where it's like, here's the concept, we know the signal for it, this is the play, this is the way they read it, so therefore we can totally take it away. And even sometimes when you know the calls, this has happened before, you still can't stop it. Georgia against Michigan a couple years ago in the playoff, you could have handed Michigan a little book like you showed the 10-year-olds and flipped it and said, this is the plane where everybody's going, and they still couldn't stop it. Sometimes it's just like that. But the part that I keep going back to is it's just very hard for me not to believe that this is not some petty, agenda-driven, and Tim Brando talked about it, get back at you, because like I said earlier this week, they run the NCAA is like J. Edgar Hoover's FBI. They don't, there's a crime, let's solve it. It's we don't like this person because they did something to us or they're doing something we don't like, so therefore we'll find a crime. And I got to give Tyler credit. He had a great comparison too. It's the Al Capone moment for Jim Harbaugh, right? They can't get you on murder. They can't get you on armed robbery. They're going to get you on something. Because everybody's dirty, they'll get you on tax evasion. That's what they're going to get you on something. If they want to get you, everybody is dirty. They can find a way to get you. That's why I cannot wait for these guys to be out of the game, because at least it'll be somewhat more equal, and they're not going to pick petty fights with people that you shouldn't pick fights against them in the first place, right? Something similar has happened to other coaches that have picked fights with the NCAA because you can't win. It's like picking a fight with the IRS. You're not going to win. So why start the fight?
Jim Harbaugh gets suspended.
I don't know why you'd want to run Jim Harbaugh out of the college game and away to the NFL. Like, he's great for college football. Yes, I understand that he's come out and advocated for student-athlete compensation, but a lot of coaches have done that. And guess what? NCAA, that's coming in. They're already asking Congress for legislation and Senator Tommy Tuberville. But either way, Blaine, I want you to weigh in here. There's three things. Like, one, did Michigan break the rules, right? Two, can the NCAA prove it? And three, what would the punishment be then? Kansas basketball had level 1 violations. They're not going to be strict.
Yeah, they sent Bill Self a set of steak.
Is it illegal to send a guy from your staff to another team's game?
What do you mean send?
Like for him to buy a ticket and go to another team's game. Is that illegal?
That's the one thing in the bylaw, because again, like you said, this isn't about sign stealing. Nobody is there. Nowhere in the rule book does it say anything about sign stealing. This is about a bylaw that was broken, apparently or allegedly, by sending a staffer to another person's game, which, in my opinion, is the dumbest ass rule ever of all time.
And they thought about overturning it. Remember, this went into effect, I think, in 1994, maybe 1992. They thought about overturning it in 2021, but thought, well, what does it matter anyway? It's not of consequence. So, but here we sit here, and now it's going to be of serious consequence because there's some gray area here. Now, if this Stallions guy basically, when he was not an official member of the Michigan football team, he just was a fan, which this is what Devin Gardner said a couple days ago, former Michigan quarterback and a friend of mine. This guy was a fan. He wanted to help the team. If he went to other games and filmed and tried to dissect some signals and gave that information, there's no breaking of the rules there because you're not on staff. Now, he got to be on staff in 2022, at which case there's footage of him with the coordinators on the sideline. By definition, you can't be at the other games for future opponents when you're on the sideline of Michigan games. Sounds like he bought tickets for other people to go, and if those other people went to games and aren't on Michigan staff and they held their phone outs and filmed, which you and I could do, how are you going to know if this guy then went and looked at any of that iPhone footage? footage. And plus, you're going to tell me we have the all-22 angle. I can look up whatever Tennessee and Alabama signs were from a game ago this past weekend, but I need someone to go with an iPhone on the 40th row.
Well, if he didn't go to any of those games, then you should be fine.
Well, the question is, if you buy the ticket, like you physically, because I know it's not what you think is what you can prove. Now, I know with the NCAA, they're not really there's not like a courtroom. You can take it to court, but the NCAA doesn't exactly operate like they're not bound by the Constitution, I think, in certain ways, are bound by, the protocols you have to go through with the courts and with law and to find somebody guilty and things like that. But is the question are we saying that you can't, as somebody who is on the sideline or a staffer at Michigan, buy tickets to go to the other game, or you can't physically be at that other game? Like, because if there's no proof that this staffer was at the other games, then you have nothing, if that's the rule. But again, there's a gray area there.
But
so
you can also try and tarnish reputation, which I think is mostly what's going on here. Even if you don't have the evidence to be able to actually sanction them or strip away or vacate any wins, the other Big Ten teams, at the very least, would want, hey, let's strip away, make this the Astros. Hey, they kept the World Series, but you know what? Every time it's brought up, you're called cheaters or something like that.
But if you're Jim Harbaugh, at this point, if Michigan keeps rolling, beating kids extremely bad, then it just helps Jim Harbaugh even more, because you're not sign stealing now. Right after it's all came out, trust me, everybody who's watching this game is not going to watch the game. They're going to watch the side.
Well, you know what? The thing to me is, it's not like 2 years ago Jim Harbaugh just woke up and was like, you know what? We got to start stealing signs.
Yeah,
like that's not how this works. And Urban Meyer going to the Jags and Michigan somehow figuring it out, I don't think that's a coincidence. And we've talked about that multiple times. But think about this: it's the same thing when I hear you hear certain politicians say. And say, oh, well, me taking advantage of the tax system is smart. If you're going to have loopholes in there that I can take advantage of that better me, I would be stupid not to use those. If it is legal for me as a person on staff to buy tickets for other people to go to other games, to film signals, and the rule states that I myself cannot go to these other games, but I can buy tickets, you know what I call that? I call that smart. I call that smart, and I'm sure they're not the only ones that are doing it, but how can you call that cheating if there technically isn't a rule against sending other people to go there and do it if it's not the person on the staff?
Wouldn't that frustrate you more if you're the NCAA? Wouldn't it frustrate you more that someone was able to find a loophole in the system and take advantage of? What would your response be to that? It would probably be this. At least leaking information. Again, we haven't heard nothing from the NCAA. I've seen a smear campaign on social media for the last week, and yet no word from the organization of power about this. All ESPN and Yahoo Sports, a smear campaign. Now,
stealing.
Again, as we're sitting here right now, let's see what comes out in the next.
It's just amazing. You know what? The funny part,
if you're the NCAA, you're not. This isn't a win for you. This is why I don't understand why even you had to know. You had to know that it was this guy buying tickets for someone else that you couldn't win this. So why even come out with it?
Yeah, you're better off doing a sting.
Again, but here's my thing. Maybe this guy thought I found a loophole, boom, 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 loophole. I'm within the bounds of the law, and then slipped up on one word in the language or concrete language. And the NCAA, the one who wrote the rules, can issue the punishment. This is what I was talking about with Tom Brady and Deflategate. There is no evidence that Tom Brady went to anyone and said, make sure the ball is a little bit less deflated, but the NFL still had the power to punish him.
And the last thing I was saying, I don't want people to get confused. This isn't a sting operation. They didn't catch Michigan in the middle of doing something where they set him up to find him. They didn't send Donnie Brasco in there to hang out with Connor Stallions and go to the Wisconsin game that's a couple weeks away and get their signals. This is no notice of anything. We are not saying that we're just going to whisper to people that we know have to report it. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure out if you work for some place that breaks news and you get wind of this, you want to be the first one on the story. I mean, it's Ron Burgundy. It's the Channel 9 news team, buddy. You want to get that out there. I don't blame the writers, but the NCAA, this is not some random event that's happening. This is a coordinated situation, and guess what? If Michigan was 4-3, you wouldn't hear a word about this. This would never have even ever been brought up. Because apparently, if people knew about it this long, it hadn't been brought up yet until now. So then it started whispering to certain people. So, look, the saga continues.
The saga continues.
But, I mean, look, if they got away with it, it's a pretty smooth move.
We'll see. I don't know.
And speaking of smooth, I mean, David, your skin, I'm not trying to get weird here, but is super duper silky smooth. Mine is too. I'm loving it. Sometimes I'll just touch my face, make sure it's there. I don't know what happened in Helsinki in 1961, but
don't bring it up. I don't want to talk about it.
Blaine, you've come over to the Genucel train now.
Yeah.
How you liking it?
Liking it. I'm loving it.
Oh God, I love that.
The skin. Let me see.
That's the best. It's skincare
like
for
a vampire shining in the sun.
That's exactly right. Twilight. It's for men and women. It's total skincare. They've got everything. They got a new product called Genucel 3, which works fast on under eye bags and puffiness. You don't want to look like Puffy the Vampire Slayer. It's smoother, it's more luxurious, and it uses advanced technology to deliver complex vitamins and minerals that I'm not smart enough to understand directly to your face for instant hydration. Their Fall Classics package includes a jawline treatment for a more firm neck and jawline. We know how far that jawline goes. Not a lot of superheroes that don't have good jawlines. All right, so if you're trying to better yourself, trying to come out the phone booth and get to business, you may want to check this out. And the way you can do that, go to genucel.com/booster. That's GENUCEL.com/booster for extra discounts on this amazing fall package. Get your skin ready for the cold and dry weather. If you don't look and feel if you don't look and feel your absolute best, you'll get your money back, no questions asked. That's genucel.com/booster. Well, gentlemen, still so glad about winning that 100,000. I wonder what's going on.
100K, man.
What a night.
Wow.
What a night. How'd you do?
Down 40K.
40.
All right, guys. He's trying to reverse. He's trying to reverse jinx it. But I hope the chat's good. I know there's a lot of people in there that totally agree with you, David, about Michigan, and me too.
I hope so.
Yeah, we'll see. But we're back live tomorrow morning. Make sure you get those calls in. We open lines 8:15 a.m. Eastern. That's 7:15 a.m. Central. Can't wait to see you live. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. And like us, pre-recording shows for the rest of the week, it's going. Gone.